Right, so now, before we get into our very first game between EVOS SG versus BFM.
Yeah, and it's only day one of this World Championship. It's only the first group, but we already have such an intense deciding match. I did not expect myself to say deciding match so soon, but here we are at this pivotal moment between EVOS SG, who are temporarily on the back foot because the only way out is to win this series by hook or by crook. And VFM, if they win, they're through.
Oh, whoa, that's a little bit too hasty of the side of Tiny, but of course, being a matcha, you could do as you please, just slowly proxying the wave, and now Potato just dishing so much damage that Tiny is now left with only 50%, but you know, you could always just regen your HP up as a matcha. Yep, back to 100% we go.
Yep, that is Marsha, the lady with the power of the beast. She's gonna unleash that, and we've seen RQ in the very first big gold lead, but they did run the wooden mask instead of your traditional boots. So slightly different plays are coming out from VFM, but we talk about how VFM, they are so good at creating space for objectives. Even against RRQ, sure they lose members, sure they give out Lucky, they give out one tower, but in that particular game they secured all the turtles and all the lore, and it's something really impressive that you just cannot overlook.
That's right, and now we're seeing some challenges coming in the bottom side. Tiny dropping out low, forced to flicker out, but somehow walks out unscathed, only with a slither of health left.
And what a flicker just behind, oh dear Bambi. The meteor shower was inches away from connecting on this Marsha, so because of that, VFM, they will protect that first blood, but EVOS actually, they get the turret in return.
That's right, and VFM as well, they're also getting a whole lot of that advantage inside of jungle, and now JPL almost getting fully clipped out as we see Broly instantaneously responds to a couple of bullets sent his way, but Acer coming in with 4 members in towards the mid lane. This is going to be EVOS SG playing it relatively safely, and over on the top side, that Tamus versus Granger matchup will definitely be pretty much even up because Granger does have enough range, and here comes the very first turtle being contested, and it will be in the hands of EVOS SG.
And you see at VFM, they're not able to get the objective, not able to take the fight as well. EVOS SG, they just immediately disappear. VFM's ability to fight in this situation, even though they have not hit level 4 yet, but EVOS SG, they're not taking any risk.
That's right, and I would say that that's a little bit too late for VFM to even respond, or perhaps the best that they can do is just use the retribution to snatch that.
May ano ako? Interview.
Saan?
45731.
Saan tuloy?
And EVOS actually taking a page out of RRQ's book. They kind of learned that you cannot leave this Marsha alone, even for a couple of minutes, because that's what happened during that game with RRQ. So they're just going to commit straight onto that bottom tier 2. The Great Chill Lucky getting that way of the Dragon off, but not able to follow it up, and start trying to turn it around the wall, actually keeping Zhao Piao alive.
That is pretty too close to comfort here. Well, I'm even fumbling on my words on that because I don't really know how to respond. Like, it could have been either side to actually pick up that first blood right there. But T-Max as well as Hyde, we see great rotations coming from the side of VFM. But there's going to be a little bit of that setup coming from EVOS SG because the next turtle will be spawning over our lower side of the river. And they're pretty much on their way, while Tamus is having some great free push over on the top side.
Oh, Lucky, not really sure if that is the kick that he was looking for, but he did manage to send this Grog far away from the rest of his team. And I like what EVOS actually is trying to do. If you get the tier 2 bottom, you're forcing this Marsha to go to top, which Teeny is already doing so. But because of the early deficit, there's no way she can fight this Diamonds. Forced to flicker away to safety. Meanwhile, BFM will start a fight immediately in the bottom corner of the map. Potato managing to get out with that flicker. Zhao Piao as well, escaping. Glorious pathway use as well by the Hylos as BFM tries to secure this second turtle.
Great natural push coming in from the bottom side as well. They managed to secure the very first tower over the top, and now we're looking at Zhao PL enacting a lot of all that pressure as a Grok. This is how every team should be playing a Grok, so offensively to keep enemies at bay. Now we're looking at a little bit of that goal lead headed over to the side of EVOS, and Now they're already bringing the help down low for the side of the turtle. Then great wall charge over on T-Max to force that flicker away. And look at Hyde. He's getting chunked up by the mid-air shower. That will be first blood for the Valor as Lucky stranded in between. And Jiao PL, the next one to fall. And same goes to the Chow that's caught right off. And look at that. Great Bloodless Axe has already been purchased from the side of the Tamas, and now he's hopping right in, forces a flicker out of these members of BFM.
And for the second time, Lucky was not able to follow up with that ultimate. He did send Jiao PL to within the range of his turret, but because he didn't follow up, he wasn't able to survive that engage. Now T-Max taking the brunt of that, should be able to stay alive a bit more, has to use that ultimate just for the extra regeneration. And Evo says they'll keep out the pressure, not able to take down that mid turret. Still though, Lucky again a bit far from home. They're gonna block him out with that wall, and it seems like Evo's SG, they smell blood, they find one, and High is not gonna be able to hide from this one. Double kill for Ace.
Oh, I'm not too sure what he was actually thinking right there, because it's really too dangerous for him to face check in that sort of sense. And he went in for the flicker, trying to actually get in position to actually use the weight of the dragon, but that was way too much for him, as there's 3 members of the side of Evo's SG to respond. And looking at that, T-Max can only hold on for so long. Righteous Pathway being used into effect, and lucky enough, they did stall a little bit of time. Look at the goal path right here, as Evo's Esports are looking to extend it to a 5K goal lead.
And coming into this, we expected VFM to be the one to start the fight, and they kind of did at the turtle pit, but never happened because EVOS actually didn't want to give it to them. And now EVOS actually, they recognize their advantage, they identify those opportunities. They are now on the aggressors. And Lucky's Cho not being able to get that effectiveness that he wants.
That's right. I love all these huge items that we purchased. We've seen the Bloodless Axe, Athena Shield, and a whole lot of all these stuff like Endless Battle as well. So I'm looking at Evo's Esports here, having a great power spike, and now look at the damage coming out from the side of Oh Dear Bambi, taking over on the side of T-Max. Not enough to bring him down, but they will have to give up this tower in the mid lane.
This is just smart play from EVO's SG. They don't take fights. They just want the objectives. You push VFM back. They know that VFM cannot contest all this wave. The only wave clear that they have is in the Granger, maybe a bit in the Harry, but they have to kind of be in.
Effective in all of these battles.
And meanwhile, Teeny is trying his best to go for those split push, but So will find him. And this, the 1v1 that we call it legendary in the previous broadcast. Teeny not wanting to fight this, but So is not going to let him go. Backup does arrive.
Well, I think it's really pointless to actually chase over Masha at this point of time, because she's got that movement speed. She's got so many layers of health. So
as equivalent to killing her, because she will be ineffective. And again, they do find a hideout. The Deadly Sonana does come out, and look at Jiao Piao, the guy that says creating a lot of space. He gets kicked back way of the dragon. Lucky though, not able to convert that into anything, and he ends up losing his life. And Evo's actually, they'll claim another one, and they might be able to set up for Lord.
That was definitely a perfect macro play, because you talk about the setup here. They're gonna create one more before going in for the Lord. Meteor shower from the Oh Dear Bambi to secure a kill. Flicker being popped from the side of Soul as well. Now we see all 4 members on the top side. They want to secure that tower, and perhaps they might just be able to break it open before even Lord spawns up.
Yeah, VFM falling apart, and this is not the same VFM that we saw this morning, that we saw in the previous 2 series. In this deciding game, as fatigued as both teams are, it seems like EVO's SG are the more composed one, and Lucky goes for another face check. Not able to be killed off just yet, but seems like she's playing with fire at this point, and Ace and Jiao Pia would just push him back. Now back up, he said the potato is there, and he will finish the job.
Well, took them long enough to actually back him up. But look at T-Max getting stuck in between as well with the right
The
battle.
Venus shower!
Tiny! Tiny! Oh my goodness, he's still surviving. And then now here comes the flicker as well, bringing down T-Max. And oh my goodness me, Evil's Esports have taken down 4 members. And now it's only down to Broly. Let's have a little bit of recap brought to you by U-Mobile.
And just look at, oh dear, Bambi, meteor shower on point on all the necessary calls. And by the time we thought that Marsha got the kill, but Chang'e was the one melting through VFM. And Evil's actually 10 minutes in, they're knocking on the doors of VFM.
Oh my, look at how hungry these Tigers are. The Tigers from Singapore might just be able to secure game point number 1 heading in towards the series.
What an amazing performance from Evil's SG. Clean, crisp, there's no other way to put it. In this game against VFM, who was so dominant, who looked so strong that they seemingly have the advantage over Evil's SG on paper, but game 1 proved otherwise.
Yes, and indeed, we're looking at both sides here having a long stalemate in the first 3 minutes of the game. But that silence broke, and from that point onwards, Evil's Esports just put their pedals to the metal, and they definitely rushed it all the way. They didn't even need the Lord. We were talking rushed it all the way. They didn't even need the Lord. We were talking about the Lord, and they say, heck, we didn't really need to actually do much. All they needed to do was just bait VFM to come right at them, and that's where they managed to take all those 4 kills. And of course, with only Broly left, there's nothing much that he can do to actually secure that sort of defense. And wow, great macro play from the side of Evil's SG.
And as we look at the stats right now, just there's not much to say. 10 kills to 2, and it's just Evil's playing their A game. And I have to bring it back to the bans as well. Evil's, they took up Kufra and Lolita, which were the more comfortable heroes for VFM as well. VFM were forced to the high lows and the chill. Lucky was clearly not in sync with the rest of his team during that game. A lot of attempted engages didn't get to follow up. 2 Way of the Dragon, actually 3 Way of the Dragons, they are kind of wasted. He threw his life for absolutely nothing, and most of them were on Zhao PL, the Grok that your team just don't want to waste resources on. And from that point onwards, all it took was Evo to win one small fight, and it just snowballed entirely.
That's right, and now let's have a little bit of recap heading in towards that battle that we saw early game. And Zhao Piao almost faltered in that sort of skirmish, and it was down to the wire in that sort of sense. Flicker was being popped here, and this is how they were so segregated. Look at VFM. They're coming in one after another, and that definitely wasn't the best move that I've seen from VFM. Maybe, like you said, the fatigue might have just kicked in after the series with Impunity KH.
Yeah, and of course, at the same time, a little bit of rewind to that match, to that fight at the Turtle Pit. Very ballsy move from High to go 1v4 with the Harvest, but he completely disregarded the Valia. The wall fight actually stunned him mid-dash, and AVOSG is like, freebie, will turn on to him. And because the lack of communication, which I think was the issue, Lucky just continued engaging while the Harvest was being killed off, and you can see that Lucky was just not, this was not his game.
Oh yes, indeed, and he definitely was off position. Perfectly landed on Masha, and that's how they managed to take care down, and it was too little too late to defend after they just got respawned in towards the base. And of course, game 1.
Anything solid, because that defeat was just Evil's actually written all over it.
Well, I would definitely say that from the side of VFM. Of course, that homework definitely was something that's worth it in the sense that they had a great draft.
Oh, yeah.
But in terms of execution, it was not even near perfect in that sort of sense. Like, if it was to be perfect, I will feel that Evo's SG will have a tougher time to actually hit into this game, but too much lead has been given in towards the side of Evo's SG. Look at the amount of turtles that they managed to even secure in this matchup itself, which means that Evo's SG have taken a whole lot of control, not only on those river inside some enemy territories as well, and they just walk in one after another. I just felt like maybe it might just be the lack of communication or so that kind of resulted in this sort of a scenario, because the last time that we saw them fight against RRQ, and they were the only teams thus far to actually take a point away from RRQ.
Yeah, RRQ came in, they won that 9-point streak, but like you mentioned, VFM managed to draw blood and they almost won the series against RRQ. So this was definitely not the VFM that we saw this morning. Maybe game 1 is the same as the previous series. Maybe it was just a fluke. Maybe VFM will wake up in game number 2. But what do you think they have to change?
Well, I feel like VFM, they just really have to play to their strengths. Like what we saw, that sort of pick-off style coming in from that sort of game that they used to play is definitely really effective. And once they manage to go in for a couple of those good early pick-offs right there, they can slowly get themselves a couple of snowball situations for perhaps some of these carries. But then again, EVOS Esports, they are also known as the comeback kings of MYSG. There's so many times that they were put on the back foot and they managed to still find some advantages. This is one team that always have a plan B if plan A ever fails. So this is the strength that EVOS SG has. But for the side of BFM, of course, they didn't really manage to defend all too well, is because they were all too scattered. If they were to be playing all together, they would still have maybe a little bit more chance. Yeah,
and
that's what sense.
VFM's lineup is not the best at defending against huge minion waves at all. I did mention, maybe the Harrier, maybe the Granger, maybe to some extent the Marsha, but they all have to be in close proximity of EVOS SG, and the presence of Grok, of Zhao Piao himself on that Grok was enough of a threat to kind of force VFM back. And I definitely would love to see VFM pull out their pocket strat once more. Even though the game that they did so was a loss against RRQ in that bloodthirsty game 3, I think this is the time, because like we mentioned, EVOS actually the only way out of the group stage is to win against VFM, and they're one game away.
That's right, and we're talking about VFM right here. They have this never say die attitude, and there's still a whole lot of chances. We haven't really seen any much of that reverse sweep going on throughout this entirety of the day. So perhaps this might just be high time that VFM really goes in to put it all on the table. But now it's time to find out, as we'll have our drafts ready for game 2.
Yeah, the pressure is now on VFM's side. They're going to ban out Marsha straight away. If they can play it, you don't really want to first pick Marsha most of the time, and you don't want to give it to EVOS SG for sure. Lolita will be the same ban from EVOS SG. They've seen Lolita played by T-Max. They don't want to deal with that. They're going to take it out.
That's right. And I felt like VFM, with that sort of composition that they had, takes a little bit more time to ramp up. So I do believe that VFM should go in for some picks which is early to mid-game centric in that sort of sense, to get them a little bit more of that sort of advantage. I like the pick of the show, but I felt like it wasn't utilized to 100%, like you said earlier on. So they can definitely leave that one up in the open, but VFM here, perhaps they might even consider banning that Chang'e, but instead it will lock away that Kaya, and it will not see the light of day for game 2.
Yep, so this series we will not see the Divine Judgment from this particular hero, and again, another Kufra ban, EVOS. They are just target banning. They are willing to give the export away, and VFM would jump at the chance.
That's right, and export is definitely one huge pick that EVOS SG has not been able to actually secure so far in this sort of matchup between VFM. But I would say I'll take Grok any given opportunity. But with that sort of export coming into play, which means that EVOS needs to deal with a little bit of that split push, as well as the dives coming in from the export with the Firaga armor popping out with Last Insanity. So that's one thing that they really got to keep their eyes upon. But Obami here, what is he gonna go in for? Maybe he might just go in for a marksman, or even yet another fighter coming into his table.
Yeah, and VFM, they're willing to sacrifice that Grok simply because if they go for Grok themselves, you're giving export away to the EVOS SG, and VFM crushing impunity in the previous series with this particular hero. They feel confident on it. Carry being picked up by EVOS SG, and I think it's time for VFM to bring out that Akai to give T-Max that hero that he has been shining on this entire day.
That's right, and I've been talking about how similar both teams actually play, and now they even go in for that sort of similar setup that they usually go for. And Chang'e has been stolen away from oh dear Bambi. A little stir is coming in from the players. I guess it's a gesture of, okay, what's next for us? What should EVOS go in with this final pick of phase number 1? Now, I feel maybe getting one fighter in to the table will be great because they've already got the expert, so they should respond to it before they get some of all these core picks being banned away. So one good pick would be Tamas, which we see pretty much frequently from the side of EVOS SG.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with the Thomas. There you go. As EVOS actually heard our calls, they were locking that hero, the fighter that they need. And in the previous game, they did. Esmeralda was banned out by VFM. You don't want to kind of give it away to EVOS SG, and you definitely don't want that to happen in this particular game as well. But Harif will be the first choice because VFM, they won't be going for Harif because of the Chang'e.
That's right, and I would say there's still a whole lot of arsenal of hero pool for the side of Odir Bramid to actually play. Well, I mentioned about Lunox. This is a pretty decent option as well. Or sometimes he will go for things like a Kimi, in the sense that it's still considered a semi-marksman mage in that sort of way, where this is why Kimi is so unique and it's still being left out in the open. And that means that EVOS SG could definitely favor that sort of pickup without any sort of hassle at all. Now, 10 more seconds left, and it will be a Claude ban coming in. And EVOS Esports, they got a few more options here in terms of their very final pick. And I feel like they still need yet another solid front to actually play this one off, and it will be the Hylos being locked in for EVOS.
Yeah, EVOS actually, they are not just building a front, they are not just building their front line, they're building a fortress with that Hylos pick. We've seen in the previous game, VFM, they went for the Hylos themselves. It did not work out at all, not even close to the results that we expected in all of those fights in that short 10 minutes. And right now, Hylos going over to EVOS SG. They've had an amazing game with that Grok. They had this robust front line, and you have to carry one of the best tank shredding marksmen late game. I think VF, they're going to fall back to that aggressive playstyle. It's going to be Valir and Granger being hovered over.
Wow, I'm looking at a whole lot of damage output coming from the side of VFM. If they do lock it in, I would say that EVO's really got to watch their backs in the early game. And wow, we're seeing a triple mage setup here, which means that the Chang'e will possibly go in as a support.
Yeah, and it seems like...
Or
VFM,
even the Valor.
Yeah, it's either the Valor or the Chang'e. Is
yeah.
Kind of a flex for VFM. It's going all out with that damage output. They're going to abandon that double tank. The Xbox is kind of the semi-pseudo tank, but it's going to be Akai. I believe T-Max will be on that hero again to make the space. He has made amazing plays with Hurricane Dance, but this is the most crucial game that he has to pull off those amazing engages.
Now, one thing that can go wrong for the side of VFM, of course, we're looking at all these mages as well as high burst damage output, but in terms of pushing potential, it's not really all too much other than the export. Now, we're seeing Gord being locked in as the very final choice of EVOS SG. And perhaps this might just be the key to the 2-0 victory, or could it be? At the end of the day, this is the nature of competition.
Well, this is the second last match and the most important match. And by the end of this, we're already waving goodbye to one of these teams.
That's right. And there are so many teams who flew across the continent, across the globe to fight for the trophy, to be crowned as the first ever M1 champions. And, you know, there's been so many seasons of all these MPL, and it does not come as close as this because every team are hungry for that spot. And we're seeing VFM as well as EVO still have that sort of fighting spirit. VFM, of course, didn't have a great game one, but now we're ready to head into its game two between EVO's Singapore versus VFM. So it's time for us to see who will emerge victorious in game number 2.
Yep, and if this goes to EVO Singapore, once more VFM, unfortunately, will have to put a full stop on their journey in M1. It's definitely a sad sight to even imagine, but there's still a glimmer of hope for this team. They have had an amazing run so far. They've shown us that even against the Kings, they were able to draw blood. But EVO SG shouldn't be a team that stops them from doing what they do best.
That's definitely something that they really would consider and be confident about, because after all, these guys are champions of their respective region. And VFM here, of course, having lucky without all too much luck in the previous game. We hope that he does have some for this time around. And Ace here is already trying to pull the buff away and challenge him, negating them to actually hit those levels in time. And now we're also seeing Eggs work playing a little bit more efficiently to just scout out on where the jungler is at. Now T-Max here over on the lower side is already spotting out the court, as well as all the other members over the lower side. So it shouldn't be too hard to actually lane over the bottom, but over the top side here, it might just be first blood, but Tiny does have a little bit of room to breathe.
And then my attention is now on the Gore, on Oh Dear Bambi. His chunk in the previous game was phenomenal, the game-winning meteor shower. And this time on the Gore, the later the game goes, the better it is for Evo Singapore. And the best part is because of VFM's particular lineup, you don't really have that hero to dive onto this Gore. So Oh Dear Bambi is in a pretty comfortable spot to do what he wants to do.
That's right, and we're looking at Zhao Piao, who just tangled his way across. And that's pretty much a timed ultimate as well. Bambi just shooting at the camp, but I guess that's what he really wants to get. He wants the goal instead of hitting onto something that's not too secure. And Ace might just be first blood right here. He tries to turn things one around, but it will be the kill heading over to the side of Hyde with Oh Dear Bambi.
Yeah, Oh Dear Bambi, definitely a slight whoopsie in that scenario. Doubt that the kill would have come true, but definitely might have prevented that rotation to the top lane to kill off Ace.
That's right, and we're seeing a rival for a side of Tiny as well. Great movements across the map for VZ Fantasy main. And now a little bit of 1v1 action between Soul versus Broly. Well, of course, he's not exactly the same guy coming from those Dragon Ball Z movies, but, well, Soul himself, he's going to be having a pretty much good time in lane.
Yeah, he's a level behind the Esmeralda as well, so not really a smart move to go for that fight. And they might come for the dive, though. They get the pushback, and so knocked into that wall. Broly coming in, but great save from Ace with that glorious pathway, the extra regeneration that they need. Zhao Piao does use the Guardian's barrier, but no follow-up from Evo Sashi.
We're seeing Zhao Piao being really vital in all of these fights, and even Ace right there, he definitely came just in the nick of time to actually do a little bit more for the team. But speaking of Zhao Piao, he's already getting pinned against the wall. Great element from the court, but it will not be able to take down Lucky right there. And Mirror Shower being used from the side of Hyde will not be able to bring down the court.
In the meantime, Soul also got took down by Tiny. So 2 kills across the board for VFM across the entire map. Definitely, if you are Zhao Piao, you kind of overstep in that situation.
Well, it's pretty much a hard decision to actually make, and he just went face checking and he paid the price. Now we're looking at 3-0 in favor of VEC Fantasy main, and we're slowly seeing all these items coming into fruition, and of course the first tower in the hands of VEC Fantasy main over the top side.
Definitely a better start for VFM compared to previous game where Evo's SG just had them in a chokehold the entire game, but this time, VFM, they're going to respond to that, and it seems like an instant jump in with a 1,000-pounder Lucky with the Hurricane that's not able to finish off Ace. He does get the Glorious Pathway well, and this means that Evo's HG will be able to get out, but Tiny with the ultimate spin stride in, the explosion not enough, the insanity is not that insane after all. But Esmeralda does manage to pick one up, so VFM, they trade one back, and they get a turret in return.
This is the VFM that every Vietnamese know how aggressive they could even get, and they're definitely trading back against Evos. Let's have a look into the highlights brought to you by the Yumalal. And of course, Last Insanity forcing all these members from the side of Evos SG back, which is how they managed to eventually claim the turret, and they brought down the Grok as well while they're at it. Now, look at the top side here. Soul trying to take down the tower, but he's being left alone, forced to actually flicker away. But here comes Hyde though, and he's getting all these blocks coming from the side of Zhao Piao. Zhao Piao will take one for the team, but where can this Grok go? As we see Broly right here secures yet another kill for the team.
Yeah, Zhao Piao is just a sacrificial lamb for Evo's SG's great wow charge to save Soul. He was about to get taken down by the Esmeralda, but because VFM such clean maneuver, had an insane goalie, and now Ace might not survive this. Broly comes in with an easy pickup, killing spree for the Esmeralda.
What a dominating performance coming from inside of BFM. And look at that. Evil's SG could not even respond. And Ace, you know how tanky Hylos is. And he could not even stand a chance against all these team members, Export, Esmeralda, and we saw the Valor as well. I think one of the keys to this draft is, of course, the Valor pickup here. But I talk about the problem about this draft. The pushing power is not that great over the late game. And what EVOS needs to do right now is to stall the match.
Yeah, so died for the second time, and it's a killing spree for Hyde. Even though we talk about how EVOS SG can easily... VSVM don't have the way to access Oh Dear Bambi on that goal because of those hero picks, but they don't have to do so if they instantly melt to the front line. It was actually, maybe it was a mistake to give that X-Block 2 because we saw how dominant Tiny was in... way. They need to wait for VFM to make a mistake, but because this is VFM, they're so disciplined, they're choking EVO's SG out. The cause, the carry, the Tamos, the Gore, they were not able to get any resources in. Their only means of getting goal right now is the passive goal, and if they get a pick-off, but it doesn't seem likely that VFM is going to make that mistake.
I would say it's really unlikely. Shell Mass has been utilized, and that's going to be a big Hurricane Dance to flush them all out. Killing spree for the Export, and now Last is being popped there by Tiny as well. Not going to connect into any of these members.
Lucky!
Oh, look at that go!
Lucky is just so amazing, and his Broly goes in with a 1 versus 3. Aces though, Broly's gonna start spinning, but he's kind of isolated. He does get the kill onto Ace, somehow still alive, so not able to challenge him as the rest of VFM, they push into the base. Carry also gets taken out, and Broly's just enjoying a little stroll. VFM, they're gonna strike back, so desperately trying to clear out that minion wave, and he will be able to do so. VFM not gonna chase him down with Zhao PL. Now trying to keep the Vietnamese squad at their side of the map, but it might not be a smart move as the Oh Dear Bambi needs some protection, and Zhao PL will be the mid shield, the guardian, the castle for EVO's SG, but VFM, they're knocking on the front doors.
And all members are alive from EVO's SG. They can buy a little bit more time. Great element from the side of court to shut one member off of the side of VFM. Now they're still playing with fire right here. And Tiny, speaking of fire, they're going to spin it right back at them. But Potato wants to trade back, tries to pop the Firaga armor. Righteous Pathway has been opened up from the side of EVO's SG as well. They're just trying to clear as much as they can. All these minutes are slowly marching in from the top as well as the bottom. But look at the catch over the side of Tiny. He is playing pretty well, and now that he's got immortality, he can do as he please.
Yep. What's better than 1 life, 2 lives for an Xbox that is virtually unkillable at this point, and he's just going to continue doing this and allow the rest of his team to get into structure. Last Society right on top of Soul, and that's a mega kill for this Xbox. They're going to try to kill him off 1 time, and they will, but he does have a second life, and Lucky's going to jump in, not able to find that Hurricane Dash just yet. VFM is going to be the second attempt on that Crystal as EVO's SG desperately try to hold on, but it cannot die out. We use the Glorious Pathway. He does get the regeneration. He somehow survives that, so EVO's SG holds on, but Tiny with the Last Society not able to get the kill. Carry though, Potato on the killing spree right now. EVO's SG is still holding on to that base, and they will survive for a bit longer.
T-Max getting caught out by that server blast coming from the side of Oh Dear Bambi. But look at Broly though, already soloing this Lord, and there's nothing that EVO Singapore can even do to even get anywhere close because they're way too busy defending for their lives. They could not afford to slip up, but VFM is looking way too strong. But look at T-Max getting caught out.
What a flicker from Zhao PL to get that pickoff onto T-Max, so it does give EVO's SG a bit more breathing room. Broly, again, trying to go for the inhibitor, not able to find it just yet. Manjun and Wolf in the previous broadcast did call EVO Singapore the Great Wall of Singapore, but VFM just slowly chipping away at those bricks.
You can see the meteor shower definitely is chipping those breaks away, like you said. And look at them go. They're just running around inside of the base, but they still have 2 more towers to go. But it's really brittle, as we can see. It's only down to about 20% left. And with the Lord marching in towards the mid lane, it will prove to be a little bit tougher here. Lucky already using the Hurricane Dance. 2 almost being popped here, as we see the meteor shower as well. Now they're trying to chunk out the Lord, and they're already in the forefront here, committing to towards this fight. Is this the fight for their lives? And all 4 members are still left intact, only 1 leaving behind. But Tiny here is going to chunk out Soul. Soul still alive after that flicker, but Broly will make sure that they will stay dead. And look at the last incident come from Tiny as well. This might just be the game, and it will be VFM fighting all the way back. Oh my goodness me! It will be a maniac for the Esmeralda as we see VFM trying to bring this in towards game 3.
And like I said, VFM, they have woken up from their slumber after game 1. The Vietnamese flag will fly for a bit longer in M1 World Championship. And what a way to push this game to a deciding 3. I wouldn't have it any other way. We're going the whole distance, but Evil's SG, that was a hard blow.
That is definitely one epic game that we're seeing here. And VFM, they are still keeping their fighting spirits up. And I'm pretty sure after this game, this is a huge morale booster. They took 1 point off the side of RQ. Now they're taking another from the side of EVOS, which means if they were to ever win EVOS Singapore, EVOS will be down and out and will be eliminated. But if EVOS does the same, it will be VFM bowing out as well. Now let's have a look towards the statistics for game number 2.
Yes, definitely EVOS now might need to reevaluate leaving the Grok open and expecting VFM to go for it, but VFM says we had an amazing performance on export. We're gonna do it again, and it was evident. No one was able to stop this export. If you look at all these highlights, it's just Evos trying their best, but all these bounties, all these kills going over to the course early on, the Chang'e, the Xbox, the Esmeralda, and whatever Evos SG do, it just does not seem effective. Look at this dive.
This is where it started to snowball right here. As we see a lot of all these members with very low health still trying to defend that bottom side tower. I felt like they should just let it go. Like, there's no advantage being given as well. And now we're zooming past and towards the top side. This is where Ace tries his best to actually pull a little bit more of that advantage back in towards Evos. But look at that dive coming from Broly. He had 1 person trying to take down all 3 members on the top side, and they did manage to take down Ace as well for that mega kill.
Yeah, and at the same time on the side you can see Chang'e Hyde getting that kill on the carry as well. Potato has not been able to be effective this entire game because of how VFM were playing, and instead of going for all those forceful dives, they were doing it knowing the rest of the team is back. Teeny went for that dive. People say it's risky, but he has the immortality, and they just slowly choke Evil's SG out. This was the final push, the straw that broke the camel's back, and VFM, they just closed it out convincingly.
Yes, indeed, and we see a little bit of that back and forth action going on, and even so, only 1 dot of health left. It's Broly to actually emerge forward and to take things on his stride, to close things out. And not only that, look at how many kills that he managed to secure by the end of the game. I believe it was about 8 kills in total for that Esmeralda.
Yeah, and I did point out that you have to keep your eyes on the Esmeralda, on Broly, especially. He's been playing the Esmeralda, he's been playing the Hellcat, and both these heroes, when he gets their hands on them, he gets down and dirty, and he does manage to secure all those targets from the enemy team, and we can evidently see one man dive in the tree, fully confident, and just
from each respective regions right here, and they definitely deserve every respect that they can get from all the fans around the globe. And that's some beautiful Mobile Legends, and both sides have been
they definitely did not expect, I believe, the Valia pick from VFM as well. And even if they did, the Esmeralda was definitely the surprise, the curveball that VFM threw and hit a home run against Evo's SG. And like you mentioned, we're down to the wire. This is the final game. Whoever wins this will secure a spot in the playoffs at Axiata Arena.
That's right, and that will be happening over the weekend. And make sure you guys secure your tickets to Axiata Arena to witness history unfold right before your eyes. And if you guys are avid fans of Mobile Legends BangBang, there is no reason for you guys to miss this one out. Now, back into the draft we go, as we'll see EVO's back in towards the blue side. Lauderdale will be the first one to be axed away. Same goes to Export here for VFM. Now, heading in towards the very last ban for EVO's on phase number 1. Well, they could still take out the Kaya, or if they could possibly leave it out in the open so that EVO's Esports SG, they could possibly go in for that sort of pickup. But still, huge priority picks still left out in the open, and we've already seen that Grok being contested as well. So let's talk through some of